Don't look now, but a Subway Series is closer to reality today than it was yesterday. Yuck. We'll talk about it as we also talk all things baseball, ALCS, NLCS, DLLS Rangers Podcast. Now. If you've ever been in court, you know when the judge enters the building, you all rise. And last night, the judge entered the series, maybe entered the playoffs. It had been a slow start for Aaron Judge, but he found the seats last night at Yankee Stadium, and the Yankees take a commanding 2-0 lead in the American League Championship Series. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. Welcome to the DLLS Rangers Podcast. John Radigan here. I'm Rads with Abby Jones, and J-Dub, Jeff Wilson over there. And we've got the Prophet over here making all this look so pretty and putting our names on the screens and allowing you to hear us, all the things that are so technically important to the process. We appreciate the Prophet for that, Elijah Smith. So anyway, we've got a lot to talk about today, and we do need your help, okay? We need you. We want your questions today, please, because in the final segment, we're going to run through a list of them. So hit us up with your questions about the offseason. Be as specific or as general as you would like, and we will be chatting about the Rangers and answering all of your questions at that point in the program. In the meantime, we've got lots of baseball to talk, starting with what happened last night in the Bronx. And Abs, your first comment, and I thought it was apt, spoke to Aaron Judge's fashion statement last night, which was really more of a weather statement.
Right, but he's, doing it like Jeter did. Actually, Elijah is working on his baseball knowledge, sent me the look last night, and he goes, I love this. Yeah. And I said, it helps when, it's Aaron Judge doing it. Right. He's a big guy, can pull it off. But no, he looked the part and played the part yesterday.
What makes a key for a good turtleneck? Do you have to have like a long neck?
It's a good point.
Do you have to have because if it's long, it kind of might get a little too stretchy, and you wouldn't have enough of a fold over.
I would call it aura. It's a 4-letter word the kids use these days.
A-U-R-A.
Aura, yes. LeBron James has aura.
Says who?
The whole world. All right.
Wow.
All right. Well,
Jeff's throwing down.
He's got a receding hairline.
He does indeed.
Okay.
Yeah. Can he wear a turtleneck?
I don't Ron can do whatever
might
he
be
wants.
Too big.
Anyway, Judge looked the part, played the part last night. He got a home run.
Yeah, he did. And it's interesting when you look at the game and you look at how it went, because, look, at the end of the day, it just says that the Yankees have a 2-0 lead in the series. This was ugly baseball, right? I mean, this was an ugly game.
Yeah.
It was. Very first inning, the drop pop
right.
up. There were some errors by the right fielder, the Guardians' right fielder, Brennan, and he made a great catch in the first inning, and then
bobbled the ball.
Yeah, and then the Yankees had some terrible base running there. And,
oh my God! Two got thrown out in the same inning.
Yeah, John Sterling, the retired but still going. Yeah. Said, this is what they do. They run the bases like drunks.
I saw that.
I love that.
Anyway, it wasn't great. And, the missed opportunities that the Guardians had offensively were ultimately what did them in.
Yeah, it is. And to your point about the Rocchio drop in that first inning, two things about it. One, it looked and felt to me like the wind was going crazy. But Aaron Judge hit that ball so high in the air, it had 7.1 seconds of hang time.
I saw 193 feet.
That's unbelievable how high.
That's insane.
I mean, like, you could lose that thing up in the sky.
Sure.
Like, it's never going to come down. And I do believe, and, and credit to him. I saw the post-game interviews. Rocchio, no excuses. He said, maybe the wind affected it. I don't know. I got to catch that ball.
Right.
And I really appreciate that. That said, that was pretty crazy. And I will say this about that first inning, too. Man, like, we had done the whole segment yesterday about how, okay, you got to let Bybee go. You got to let Bybee stay in there. Man, my palms were sweating for the guy in the first inning. And he got out of it with allowing only one run. Yeah. So credit there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was not the start that you expected. We've talked about just the lack of endurance, I think is a good word for this Guardians starting pitching. Tanner Bybee's supposed to be their guy.
Yeah.
Was not last night. I think the Yankees even wanted more out of Garrett Cole as well. It was better than Bybee, but not too much better.
No.
It wasn't a really good game.
It wasn't crisp.
Any way you look at it.
No, the weather was crisp. The game was not crisp.
And the error on Brennan in the second inning hurt Bybee
big time.
Forced Stephen Vogt's hand, though. Again, this guy's throwing 39 pitches and he's your guy. He just got out of an inning. And you're ready to go. Must-win game, I guess, is the way they felt, and it potentially worked. It could have worked out. They went 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position, and that's the big one in this game is the 0 for 7. Because if it's close, they don't pitch to Judge in that situation, or a different guy is throwing to him late in the game when Judge hits his home run that kind of in the 7th kind of made it 6-2. So, but yeah, I don't like this. I don't like these starters going short.
No, and I took a pause in about the 4th inning, went away from the game for a second, came back, and I couldn't believe it was 3-2. I mean, it was like it was 2-0 like that, and it seemed the Yankees had all that traffic and everything going on, and I'm like, yeah, this is just going to be a Yankee beatdown. Credit to the Guardians for maintaining. They stayed in it, and I sometimes do think. And this may just be me being, knee-jerk, not the biggest fan of analytics guy, but I feel like Stephen Vogt sometimes overmanages. But again, I think in a way maybe everybody does in the playoffs. In the ALCS, you're going to have a tendency to overmanage. But I thought he was pinch hitting too early. I felt like he was just overmanaging a little bit.
Well, the thing about these smaller market teams is they're really good at leveraging their platoons during the season, and they have to have platoons because they can't afford a superstar, so they have to have 2 complementary pieces, and so they got to do it in the postseason. But again, do you have to do it that early? Because then it
he pulls
if you
the
do it
trigger
early,
too early,
how does it set you up for later?
Right.
If you want,
then you get Austin Hedges to the plate.
Hedges
when the base is loaded.
Exactly. I took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, what a disaster that was.
Yeah.
Hilarious one.
The last person in the majors you want to bat right there, other than a pitcher, is probably Austin Hedges.
Yes.
And it's a huge situation, and there he is.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the numbers just to solidify this point of missed opportunities from mainly more so the Guardians, obviously the Yankees as well. What sticks out to you the most? For me, it's left on base for the Guardians with 11.
100%. That's where the 0 for 7 comes into play, and it's good to see Jose Ramirez hit a home run late, but they really need him to come through when he's got real chances earlier in games, and I think he's only hit about 150 in the postseason. So within those ugly numbers, there's some ugly numbers.
There are. There are. And the thing is, the other really ugly one there is that the Yankees walked 6 Guardian players, right? 6 walks. And so that's another missed opportunity because you've got to make the opponent pay if they're going to give you a free base. And they clearly did not make the opponent pay enough, as is evidenced there by the 11 left on base. But, you always want to make sure those walks score. And as a defensive team, in the Yankees case, they're trying to make sure those free passes don't score. So, Cleveland dropped the ball there as well.
Right. And just there too, the guys that haven't been hot did hit the home run with, Jose Ramirez and then Aaron Judge too. But I will say that the Yankees' two guys that have been the offensive unit, if they've had any offense, has been Stephen Kwan and Brian Roque. They're hitting .444 this postseason, while the rest of the Guardians are hitting .165. So I do know that everyone wants to look to Jose Ramirez, which I don't know if you guys saw Aaron Boone's comment about he's not underrated. He's not underappreciated.
No. God, no.
But no, I mean, I think that they do need to pay a little bit more attention to these guys, as well as the runners in scoring position for Guardians. That's a huge make or break for them. When they're in a loss, they are 2 for 22 with runners in scoring position. When they win, 10 for 30. So much like Shohei, which we'll get to, runners in scoring position is just a huge piece of their game.
Well, and you and I were talking yesterday about a conversation that you had with your dad as you were watching the Yankees in Game 1, and you were saying, "How come Aaron Judge has just been so bad? What's wrong with Aaron Judge?" And your dad said,
"Well, he doesn't get pitched to.
Right.
It's not that he's
they're not pitching
meant
to him,
for the postseason, right? Built for it. He's all of those things. He would destroy the ball if he got pitches delivered to him, but they don't. I just try to walk him. I mean, you take a look at his walks, and it shows that.
It does. They're reluctant to pitch to him, and obviously the counter argument to that is other guys have figured out how to get those hits right when they're not being pitched to. Yeah. Barry Bonds didn't get pitched to for about the last 4 years of his career,
right?
And yet he was able to ultimately achieve the milestone of the home run record. So you have to, and again, it's a short window during which time you can figure out how to do that. But maybe that's what Aaron Judge sort of did a little bit last night.
But here's the difference, too, of the Yankees, because when you're talking about them, they're a monster, because it's not just not pitching to Aaron Judge. You got to get Soto first. Then you got to get Judge, then Wells, then Stanton. I mean, there's just no break in the lineup, 1 through 9. You're going to get destroyed either way. So it's kind of like a pick your poison game. And that, worked with Aaron Judge last night. One thing that I want to point out about Clay Holmes, a key element to that Yankees bullpen, he has a pretty cool stat. He's itching his way up. Only Mariano Rivera has begun the postseason career with more consecutive scoreless innings. So Rivera's 16, Clay is 14 2/3. That's quite an accomplishment for that young man. So at least in that sense, I mean, I would like to see that happen.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, hey, if you're in the same conversation with Mariano Rivera in any statistical category, because first of all, stuttering there. I don't usually stutter. Sorry about the stutter.
Excited.
I am. First of all, Mariano Rivera was pitching during an era when the Yankees were making the postseason a lot. And then secondly, he had a long career. So consequently, it's interesting that any time you get in a conversation with him, that's pretty good.
It means something.
It does.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the Rangers, because the Yankees beat the Rangers on their way to the World Series in those years.
Yeah.
96, 98, and 99. Beat them all 3 years in the division series. And the first year, John Wetland was the Yankees closer, and Rivera was setting up. Then Wetland came to the Rangers, and Rivera became the closer, and the rest is baseball history.
It really is. It's an amazing progression that they had. And obviously Wetland was good for the Rangers, but never that, right? Never what he was for the Yankees.
Hey, again. I want to ask you guys a question, because the stat is teams that go up 2-0 win the series 84% of the time. Do we think a sweep is possible in the ALCS?
Certainly, as long as it's 2-0, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. But I don't like the chances of them sweeping. I think the way the Guardians play and the way Vogt manages, I think they're going to at least get one at home.
Yeah, I hope for this, just for the
sake of
the
series.
But then let's say it is a sweep and they have to sit on their thumbs for a week while the rest of the other series gets played out. And do they lose their momentum like happened to a lot of teams? The Rockies in 2007 come to mind. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and Abby's dad will say it happened to the 2006 Tigers.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, Game 3 is in Cleveland. Clark Schmidt and Matthew Boyd on the mound potentially.
Well, there you go.
We'll get to that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch. Your questions are coming in. We appreciate it. Keep them coming. We've got a segment full of answering questions coming up a little later on in the program. We've got more to talk about with regard to these playoffs, including the NLCS. It's a preview of Game 3, all-important Game 3. We talk about it next on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. All right. These are my new sunglasses.
Ow, ow.
These are my Shady Rays. These are all the sunglasses I've gone through over the years.
If you're listening to the podcast,
you see this?
Literally
if you're listening, I'm sorry.
Multiple cases.
I'm throwing multiple cases back into my bag because I don't need any of these anymore because I have Shady Rays. I've worn these every day since I got them. And the thing that's beautiful, they're like indestructible. They're so lightweight and they're super comfortable. And by the way, I look damn fine in them. Can I say that, Ebs?
You can say
okay,
that,
thank
for
you.
sure.
She doesn't agree, but I can say it.
Aura and confidence is key.
Yeah, very humble, Jeff. Thank you for pointing that out. So anyway, you should get yourself some Shady Rays sunglasses. These are fantastic. They're polarized. Oh, and the other thing about these, they're so much cheaper than each individual pair of all of those. So, man, do yourself a favor. I can't read our screen if I have them on, but do yourself a favor and get 35% off the polarized sunglasses. Use the code DLLS, and you get that saving.
Apparently, they're baby approved as well.
That's right.
And with all the money you're saving on sunglasses, you can get new flooring from Empire Today. And Empire Day is also going to save you money. As you can see there on the screen, $350 off when you say empiretoday.com/DLLS. Quick things about Empire Today. You get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, professional and quick installation, and a low price guarantee. I mean, what more could you ask for? But there is more. They have a virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see what floors are going to look like in any space in your room. You don't have to go into the big box places and run into a guy who is just selling lawnmowers. And they service their own warranties. But I don't know that you're ever going to need a warranty because Empire is that good. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners and viewers can receive $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS.
Fantastic. We did it. We nailed it.
We did.
Pretty much. Okay,
Very
so the team that didn't nail it in Game 2 was the Los Angeles Dodgers. And it begins to beg the question just a little bit as you look at all the stats, all the facts, all the data. Maybe the Mets are, I mean, obviously, technically they've become the favorite, right? Because they essentially swiped home field advantage away. But if you look at everything, the Mets might be the favorite now to win the series. They don't have any injured players, the Mets, right? Their pitching rotation lines up perfectly in order to beat the Dodgers in this series. They now do have home field advantage. I mean, there are a lot, and that crowd in New York is going to be bonkers. I mean, there are a lot of things lining up for the New York Mets right now.
100%. I mean, there's, they have, the home field advantage technically right now. If there's a chance this series doesn't go back to Los Angeles. I don't think it's a good chance, but it really is a possibility. And last year, if you go back 1 year, was October 16th at 23, the Rangers were on an off day in the ALCS after winning the first 2 games at Houston. So everyone's like, well, shoot, they're going to close it out at home. And what happened? They lost 3 games at home.
3.
And then had to go back to beat Houston twice to go to the World Series. So I don't know how much home field advantage matters in baseball. It seems to
the numbers didn't show it too well.
Not have a huge impact.
Yeah,
sure, they would much rather be home, of course, but I think with a crowd that's a little more hungry, like the Mets, haven't been to the World Series in 9 years. They haven't won it in 38 years.
Yeah,
it's been a while since White Gooden and Ron Darling and Bill Buckner let that ball through his legs. And so it's
had to bring him up.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, so but I think you're right. It just feels like with Severino's a good pitcher. He's tested. He's pitching really well right now. The bullpen games that the Dodgers might be leaning into, Walker Buehler. I'm sure we have a graphic of the starting pitchers. hasn't been great this year, coming off of the Tommy John surgery. A Vandy boy, but before the Rangers, 2 Vandy boys. But I mean, he was great pre-Tommy John, but it just hasn't clicked for him yet. And I think he's going to have a short leash, which puts more on the bullpen. And if you put a lot of bullpen in the first game, and then the second game, and then you don't have a day off for the third game, it could get rough. So, but then again, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, even if he's hurt, all right, still pretty solid over there.
Yeah, and this is the Mets' first home game of a NLCS round, at least since 2015.
Right.
Did you see the photo on X of the guy that did a Mets and a Yankees hat all on the same thing? Oh, he's probably the most hated man in New York. But
you can't like both teams.
You really can't.
No, it's not allowed.
Really can't. But a lot of things are clicking for the Mets offense. I mean, I feel like we've just sung Francisco Lindor's praises, and rightfully so. He's hitting .235 with 8 hits, 2 home runs, and 7 RBI in 9 games. Mark Venettos, who hit the grand slam yesterday, hitting .378 in the postseason. So, we were talking about the insult that he felt of, Francisco being intentionally walked before him, thinking that he was, a free pass wasn't going to be that much of a problem. Well, he hits the grand slam. I mean, that's a 24-year-old putting up those kind of numbers, in such a big postseason moment. So you do see a lot of those guys stepping up to the plate. A few guys have definitely seen starting pitcher today and have decent numbers against him. In particular, Pete Alonso hitting .357 with 4 home runs off of the starting pitcher today. So you're maybe I'm probably going to put the Mets ahead in this game.
Yeah, well, and I'm probably going to put them ahead in the series, which, again, is knee-jerk in that they have home field advantage. But I think especially with the pitching, again, as the Tigers took to calling it, A.J. Hinch, with the pitching chaos, that the Dodgers will still be forced to they made it tonight. As Jeff mentioned, Walker Buehler, since he came back this season, he's 1-6 this year with a 5.38 ERA. He just never figured it out. He wasn't great in his last start in the DS. So it's a very slippery slope when you don't have enough starting pitching. And we knew the Dodgers didn't going into this series. I mean, again, you look at all the people that are on the shelf. Right. We knew they didn't.
But that's so pivotal for this matchup, at least for the Mets, because they've scored 32 of their 45 runs this postseason on the bullpen. I mean, they're hitting .375. And when the Dodgers are just not having those quality starting pitchers and starting quality starts, the Mets are going to do damage. I mean, that's kind of just their recipe right now. So, yes, Dodgers are doing pitching chaos. I think the Mets have a recipe for it.
They do. They've got an antidote. They've got an answer. It would be interesting, and I don't think we're going to see this, but it would be interesting to see that Mets, if they could continue that against what most people believe is the best bullpen in baseball this year, which is the Guardians, right? I don't think that's going to happen at this juncture, but that would be a juicy sidebar if that were to happen. If somehow the Guardians are able to come back against the Yankees, and I think to Jeff's point, we mentioned it in the last segment. That game last night wasn't as much a blowout or, one-sided. Let's say that. I wouldn't call it a blowout, but it wasn't as one-sided as the score might indicate. That was a much closer game than 6-3 as the final.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%. Yep. Anyway, but to this Dodgers situation, Freddie Freeman, I mean, he has almost achieved hero status. I don't know if he has among Dodgers fans. I haven't really seen much about this, that talked about on social media and all that. But among his teammates, this dude's a hero.
I love Freddie Freeman.
He's great. And, again, one of 3 former MVPs on the team right now. So they're stacked with talent, but they're hobbled. And his severe ankle sprain on September 26th continues to haunt him. And talked to his teammates before game 1 of this series, and they were like, 5% chance he's going to play. He's not going to be able to do it. He's not going to be able to do it. And lo and behold, Freddie Freeman went out there in game 1 of the NLCS, and not only because he said, I'm not going out there unless I can do it right. So he went out there.
By golly, he did.
He's standing on second base. Max Muncy dumps a little, single into right center field. And I'll be darned if Freeman didn't score from second, right?
Right.
You're thinking at that point, he'll go station to station. He says, I'm not a station to station guy. He scored, and he actually scored without a slide. But he says the thing that's hardest for him with the ankle injury such that it is slowing down.
Yeah.
So Mookie Betts caught it.
Oh, that was the best.
Right.
That was the best
Betts,
moment.
He says, Mookie kept me from falling down.
That was the best moment. But no, I think that it plays into this as well because somebody put on Twitter or X a photo from the Dodgers clubhouse, and it had the Kobe Bryant quote, "Job's not finished."
Yeah.
So, I think Freddie Freeman just tapped into that Mamba mentality, and he wasn't going down without a fight. And I loved seeing that hustle from Freddie. He's just that type of guy. I got to know him pretty well when I was with the Braves in 2021. So I'm a huge Freddie fan. And just for him, especially when you think about all the stuff that he's gone through personally this year with his son, and it's a little bit better. But he's probably playing for something a little bit bigger this year.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think, all the Dodgers are. I mean, this is a motivated bunch because we mentioned this yesterday. This is a franchise that has been knocking on this door every year.
Yeah.
And yet only in 2020, and I think still many people would put an asterisk next to 2020, and probably rightly. But many people would certainly do that. So their only World Series win with this group was in 2020, and they want to make sure everybody knows that they're not just a regular season team, right? They're not just a team that's going to win divisions, and they're going to win the big one. And man, if they do that this year, if they're able to do it, which again they're a long ways away from even winning this series. But if they do, it'll be heroic because they're fighting through a lot on the injury front.
They are, but they also really need to make the World Series. I mean, I think they've got a lot. Like we talked about Dave Roberts and how he felt he was in a little bit of the hot seat. I think that with the money that they've invested this offseason, I think I read they said they would call it a loss if they didn't go all the way, and just... I think there's a lot of things that they need to prove. I'm interested in the conversation of who needs to make it to the World Series the most, Yankees or the Dodgers, and I guess they'd both be in it at the same time. But it's been a long time for both of these clubs. They have a lot riding on, this hopeful World Series appearance, maybe in a little bit of the hot seat if they don't get there. So it's, it's really do or die for the Dodgers, I think.
I agree. I mean, but at this stage, it's do or die.
No matter what.
For everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you come this far. You don't want to go home at this point. But
yeah.
I didn't come this far just to come this far. Read it on the internet.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. Because you go back to 2020, the COVID year. I mean, that lineup's turned over a lot.
It has. It absolutely has.
The pitching staff has, you still have Buehler and Kershaw, but Kershaw's hurt. Glass now is hurt. To your point. Tony Gonsolin's hurt, and he pitched a lot in that 2020 playoff run. So, and like we talked about the other day, Dave Roberts on the hot seat. Aaron Boone would be on the hot seat, honestly.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of Yankees people that don't care for him. So I don't know. That might be a draw. That one might be a push.
It might.
Yeah.
It might. Again, it's been longer for the Yankees, right?
It has been.
2009. Yeah. So it's been a much longer time. These two teams have met in the postseason, and again, a lot of these were before the team moved to Los Angeles, but they've met 11 times in the postseason, and it's the most of any. In fact, the Yankees, not surprisingly, they've won 28 championships. They have the top four. Yankees, Guardians, or Indians as they were as second, and then Yankees and a couple more beyond that.
But it's all the Yankees.
It's all Yankees.
Is your point.
Top four. Yeah. So Yankees against somebody, especially back in the
Yankees
day.
versus
Right.
everybody.
Right. Yeah. That's it.
That Detroit logo?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Detroit, us versus everybody. So anyway, we've got more coming up. We love seeing the questions coming in. Keep them coming. We want to talk to you. We are going to do that through our chat. That's coming up a little later on in the program. Coming up next, we want to talk about guys who are the best, right? You need your best players to be your best players in the playoffs. We talk a little bit about that and Shohei Ohtani's amazing ability with runners in scoring position. It's all coming up on the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
Let me tell you about Rugged Road. It is a great, innovative cooler. I wish that we had our prop. They've got it in the big studio, but we'll take the desk here. We're fine with that. No, Rugged Road, it's lightweight, it's durable, it's meant for any condition. You can take it to the ballpark, like when Jeff's going to watch his kids, pack some PBJs or Rads. You can take it golfing with the boys and put you a little soda poppy.
I might put something in there.
But they keep everything cold. It's floatable if you need it to be. Lightweight and durable and versatile as well. So we've got a 10% off discount. I come from the land of the South, so we know a thing or two about some coolers. This might be a Christmas gift for my parents.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. We need all the snacks. We need everything, and it's the best. Go to Rugged Road. Get your cooler. You can go to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use DLLS for 10% off.
And if you're going to take your cooler to like a tailgate or something, you got to have the gear. So that's where FOCO comes in. Get fitted in the best sports gear around: hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, everything in between. Jackets, beachwear, overalls. If you're a spirited gardener, there's something for fans for almost every occasion. And look, there's some set decorations back here that FOCO has kindly provided for us. So go show them some love. Check out FOCO.com or click the link in the description below. For all non-pre-sale items, use the promo code DLLS10 for 10% off at FOCO.com, FOCO.com.
Yeah, and it's really cool gear, and it's really worth getting. And I think that a lot of these people that are sponsoring us are fairly new to our viewers because, we haven't heard of a lot of them either. But we've been blessed to get a lot of this gear from these people, and it's absolutely worth it. Yep. It's
DLS
it's show approved.
That's right.
Yep, absolutely.
Show approved. Speaking of Shohei
Ohtani.
Oh, I see what you did.
Diamonds are made under pressure, baby.
It's amazing. 0 for 19 when runners, are not on base.
Bases are empty.
Yeah, when the bases are empty. And then what is it? He's hitting
Well, it's technically 0 for 22.
0 for 22 now.
2 walks, 10 strikeouts when the bases are empty.
Yeah.
However, with runners in scoring position, 13 singles, 2 doubles, 6 home runs, 4 walks, 1 hit by pitch.
That's amazing.
Well, he's a leadoff hitter, so he's going to bat a lot, at least one time a game when nobody is on base. But for him to hit as a leadoff hitter with so many guys on base in a scoring position kind of speaks to how complete the Dodgers lineup can be. And they're dealing with some injuries, but Gavin Lux is down there at the bottom. Sometimes Will Smith, the really good catcher, is down there. So when guys are getting on base, there's a belief. You brought up Juan Gonzalez yesterday as a defensive player. Juan Gonzalez would drive in a run.
Yep.
Whatever it took. And you know what? Some people are like, oh, the RBI, blah, blah, blah. You got to have somebody on base to, diminish the stat. But there are players who have a knack for hitting a fly ball for a sacrifice fly, putting a ball in play, whatever you have to do to get the run home. There are guys who just seem to do it better than others. And so I believe in that. I believe RBI is an important stat. For Shohei to be doing what he's doing with runners in scoring position, it's pretty. It tells you a lot a him and his
remarkable.
Whether he zeroes in or whether pitchers pucker up a little bit and are afraid to make a mistake to him, and they do anyway. Whatever it is, he has an effect when guys are on base, and he comes through a lot.
Well, he's going to come through today probably. He's 3 for 6 with a double home run and 2 walks against starting pitcher today. So
and it's interesting because it's interesting what we do as a media in some cases, right? So Dave Roberts is immediately asked, okay, all right, so he is, 0 for 9, 0 for 22, and he does this one guy. You need to move him around in the lineup. And Dave Roberts just like, no, No, we don't. He says earlier this year, there was a stretch this year where Shohei was hitting, I think it was under 200, like a long stretch, under 200 with runners in scoring position. And everyone was like, well, how come he can't hit with runners in scoring position? He says, you guys wanted me to move him then, and you want me to move him now. I'm not moving him. And this is truly a very small sample size. Right.
Well, we learned today that his name means furthermore respect. So he's putting some respect on his name with runners in scoring position.
If I'm not mistaken, though, he opened the year batting second, and Betts was the leadoff hitter.
That's right.
Then Betts broke his arm.
Yep.
And they swapped and never went back. And I mean, if you can have a 1-0 lead after one batter, that's pretty darn good.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you like that. And he gave them, I don't know how many times he hit the leadoff homer, but he hit it out of the ballpark 54 times. So, you know, you like your chances when a guy's hitting out of the ballpark 54 times in a season. Yeah, let's take the chance of starting at 1-0 in this game. So, he's not really a concern in that regard. But you also do want, and that speaks to this, you want your best players to be your best players. And it begs the question, has he been the best, right? He's obviously been the best or among the best in those critical situations. But, you know, ultimately, if the team doesn't win, has he been good enough? And can teams win if their best players aren't their best players?
Well, I think it depends on the team.
I agree.
Like Cleveland. Cleveland has one
Superstar
player who is far and above better than anybody else on the team, and either you don't pitch to him or you're figuring out a way to get him out. He's not having a great postseason,
right?
And so they're kind of in a hole right now. But then you look at the Dodgers, and their first three batters are probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame. You know, and it's like, okay, well, if this guy's off, they got this guy. And if this guy's off, they got that guy. And then they have another guy who won the home run derby, Teoscar Hernandez.
Yep.
Will Smith, who signed a 9-figure extension earlier in the year. And, I'm probably omitting some people, but they have the lineup depth that Cleveland, Detroit, smaller market teams just don't have. So, the Dodgers can win if Shohei Ohtani is 0 for 40.
Right.
But or the Yankees can win if Aaron Judge is 0 for 40. But I don't know that these other clubs can do that if their best player is not their best player.
It's a great point. And you don't need necessarily all your best players to be your best players, right? That's where your depth comes in. But really, if you just look, it's the two guys who will likely win the MVPs, right, in each league. It's Judge, it's Ohtani, and both are off to a slow start certainly in this series, but really in these playoffs. And then, so that begs the question, well, those things happen at many, many points in a regular season.
Right.
But we don't make a big deal out of it because it's like, oh, yeah, he's 0 for 22. Whatever.
Yeah.
You show Ohtani, he's going to be fine, you know?
No, I think the ALDS can prove that point alone. Because Jose Ramirez didn't do much there.
Right.
And their guy was Lane Thomas. I mean, he was like 7 of their 11 runs or something. Bad math at the moment. But my point is that he was pretty dang good. And he showed up when it mattered most. And, you know, I think about the Rangers World Series last year and Evan Carter's breakout. I mean, that was huge. And because of that, you know, that did play into his 2024 season a little bit. He got exposed and people learned how to pitch to him. So I think that you can just look at the ALDS and, you know, World Series and postseasons in the past, and it's all about the complementary players and the perfect storm. You know, maybe the ninth hole hitter stepping up at the right time. But yeah, I think you can win without. Dodgers can definitely win without Shohei doing Shohei things. You know, the Mets, I mean, who's your guy that if he doesn't, you know, make his mark, it's probably over?
Lindor for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but they do have Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
Vientos, who's come out of nowhere. And, well, maybe not out of nowhere, but who's been an exceptional player.
Yeah.
So there's some lineup depth, too. And then you want to talk about the Rangers last year. Adolis Garcia was the ALCS MVP, and Corey Seager was the World Series MVP. And Corey Seager hit the big home run in Game 7 of the ALCS. So their best players were their best players in the postseason last year.
Yep. And Corey's the guy I think of in that regard because he was also the best player when the Dodgers won the World Series in 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, for a guy to have won 2 World Series MVPs,
in both leagues,
one in each league, that is, and that I think that is a rare trait. But again, that probably does speak to how Corey Seager prepares game in and game out. Every single guy is going to tell you, I treat all these bats the same, but it's impossible. It's impossible. Now, maybe not for Corey.
Corey's a machine. So.
Corey's a machine.
I don't
Most
really know.
guys, I think they grasp the sort of the gravity, right? The depth of these situations. And Corey might have the ability to just block them out. I don't know, but he doesn't seem to be affected by the gravitas, if you will.
They didn't want to pitch to him last year, right? And they ended up doing it and they paid for it. You're trying not to pitch to Aaron Judge this year or use your best guys. When they get their pitch, they have to hit it. That's the key. If they get their pitch, they can't miss it.
Yeah.
And Corey last year just didn't miss it, and during the postseason and the latter 2 rounds especially. But he was good in the game 1 of the wild card against Tampa Bay. So it's that's the key. Your best players, I think they know that they're not going to get a lot of pitches, and they know that if they get a fastball, they got to swing at it. They got to try to hit it because that may be the only one they get.
Quality over quantity.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I go back to just kind of thinking through all the Rangers playoffs runs that, or really some that were lack of runs, but through history, Juan Gonzalez in that 1996 one, he told the team in New York, jump on.
Yeah.
Well, literally.
Yeah.
Said, jump on my back. I'll take you through this. And he won almost single-handedly game 1 in New York.
2 homers, yeah.
With 2 homers. And they should have won game 2, but the bullpen kind of exploded, and then that was it, right?
Yeah.
It was a 5-game series, so they came home and lost. Same thing the next year. He was or in 98 it was, not the next year, but in 98, he was among the best players, among all the best players. And then I think to like 2010, Josh Hamilton.
Oh, man.
The
ALCS was
my
phenomenal because he wasn't great in the division series, and then he was the ALCS MVP. The Yankees just started walking him.
Yeah.
I mean,
there was just nothing they could do.
Yeah. And he that season, Abby brought this up last week. He batted .359 that year. Nobody has batted higher in a single season since. He was the MVP despite missing like 35 games. He basically missed all of September with a broken rib after crashing into the wall.
Yep.
His July, I've never seen a player hotter than what he did in July. And I remember this might have been late June, but they went to Miami, and they were at Joe Robbie, and it was 436 to center, and they had an empty space out there, so they put their batting cage out there. That's where they'd take it after BP. He hit a ball. I swear to God, it didn't get 20 feet off the ground.
Yeah,
and it went like, if I wish there had been exit velocity for that one because that's the hardest ball I've ever seen hit. It just went out on a line to center field, and I think it rattled around that little batting cage. It had to be 450. But anyway, that's the hottest I've ever seen a guy. But then in the ALCS, he did it again. He got super hot, and the Yankees just were like, screw this. We're not going to pitch to him.
Yeah.
I remember in 10, we were at Fenway, and I got to the ballpark, and Mitch Moreland and Ian Kinsler were out in right field, literally in the stands, and it's early. There's no fans out there yet. It's before BP.
Probably early BP, yeah.
Yeah, early BP. And I walk in, and the 2 of them are out there in right field, and I walk up to him and say, you guys looking for the Ted Williams seat? Because they have a seat out in right field in Fenway Park that is a different color than all the other seats because Ted Williams hit a ball that far, and it was one of those that are people oh, my God, that was so far. They changed the color of the seat. I go, are you guys looking for the Ted Williams seat? They said, no. We're looking for the one Josh hit yesterday in BP. And it's way beyond, because I'm like, the Ted Williams seat is way down there. They're like, no, it's way up here. He hit one there, and they were, his own teammates, accomplished in their own right, were out there looking at that going, that's crazy.
You could get Josh Young started on this convo. He loves this topic.
Does he?
He does.
Ian, we got to get him into the studio. He has some great Hamilton stories.
He does.
There's the one, of course, that he probably won't talk about. But then there's one where in spring training one year he and Michael Young were lifting real heavy and like pounding out one rep. And then Josh comes in and it looks like he just woke up. And they're like, hey, you want to do one with us or hop in? He goes, yeah, sure. And he just picked up these weights that they were struggling with and just cranked out 8. Boom, 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 boom. Put him down. He's like, all right, I'm good.
What's up? Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. See if I can go find a banana. Yeah.
So the 2 MVPs in World Series history, 2 World Series MVPs in history. Corey Seager has 2. And then Sandy Koufax.
Wow.
Bob Gibson, Reggie Jackson.
Wow. Okay.
Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 2 of them are pitchers.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Which is a completely different animal and understandable. So there you go.
Well, I think Gibson got one in '68, even though the Tigers won.
That's right.
Because
that's right.
he had the 19 strikeout game or whatever it was in game 1.
Yep.
Yeah. And so
yeah,
there you go.
Fantastic. So we continue to talk baseball. We continue to talk Rangers with you because you've sent in lots of questions. We are going to get to answering those and continue to bring them in if you would, because we've got plenty of time in the next segment to talk Rangers baseball with you on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. So I'm so excited. We keep hearing that the merch is on the way, and I am, and so much so that we are hearing from our people, hey, if anybody gets it, wear it, which we definitely will. Jeff's going to model it, and we definitely plan on wearing it because, A, it's great gear, B, we want you to see it, and then you'll have an even better sense. And again, the reason it's been delayed in large part has to do with the hurricane, so, there's certain things you can't help. But we want you to get some of this great gear from store.allcitynetwork.com. Our merchandise is fantastic. There are so many great shirts to choose from. There are hoodies, which, again, today's weather
you need one.
Might make you start thinking about a hoodie. So, go to store.allcitynetwork.com and take a look at our merchandise, and then go ahead and purchase some of our merchandise if you would. I think you'll be glad that you did.
My tracking number says that I will get mine Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday.
So Monday.
Monday, I'll be in full DLS.
You got to get a hat.
Gear. Well,
yeah. Only so much you can do about that.
My torso will be in full DLS gear.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Become a diehard too, would you?
You get 20% off of the merchandise, and you get a free shirt every year. Then you get 20% off of events. We are going to hopefully do the spring training. Did you guys see the Chicago? Went to London.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I want to go to London.
Yep.
But if there's any fun baseball events, we're going to try to maybe get something go into a game, maybe something if there's an away game, a watch party, any of those things. You get to hang out with us. Ask these guys all the baseball questions. He's a baseball encyclopedia. He's got a story for everything. I'm just there to have a good time. But you can hang out with us. It's great. You pay $79.99. Like I said, with the t-shirt, you get pretty much, it for like $40, but become our best friend.
Yeah, get a couple beers in me. Who knows what I'll say.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
And speaking of those trips, if the Rangers are able to secure Roki Sasaki,
I was about to say
there will be a trip to Tokyo. The Rangers, because the Rangers, it was on the it was gonna happen,
and then Darvish got hurt.
Darvish got hurt.
Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, so
John Daniels swears by it.
Yeah, so it was going to happen, and it didn't. But that would be super fun. We'd go to Tokyo, and we'd invite you along with us. There's no doubt we'd make that happen. We're going to make spring training happen too. But along those lines, I think I saw one of the questions about Sasaki and about your article that was behind the paywall yesterday, Jeff. But, basically Jeff yesterday said, the Rangers, like a lot of teams, but the Rangers have a legitimate shot at signing a guy who many believe and scouts have called the best pitcher on the planet, Jeff, and he's only 22 years old. So the question was about sort of the legitimacy of their candidacy.
I mean, they've been in the conversation for, obviously, Darvish. They were in the conversation for Ohtani and missed out, and now they'll be in it. They'll be in the mix for Sasaki, and they have a great presence there. They have Joe Furukawa, who was a former player in Japan. He was Darvish's translator the first year. You guys might remember him from that. But he's over there, knows everybody. Works hard. And then my man Haji Watabe a great guy who's now, when the Rangers first got him, he was translating also. But he's a seasoned guy now. And Josh Boyd, who's assistant general manager, has been going to Japan since before, starting with the Darvish thing, started the courtship there. Ross Fenstermaker's been, and then you have Chris Young, who I still think is a wild card in all of this because he can talk at the same level as Sasaki. He can talk pitching, major league pitching, how to survive in the major leagues, and it won't cost anything up front. So Ray Davis is going to like that. But the key is that group putting together the right presentation, and then B, Sasaki having as much as they're allowed to assurances that he has a windfall coming
right
after a few years,
right?
Which would have to be kind of a wink, right? I mean, it can't be.
You can't sign him and then announce a massive deal.
Not yet.
No, he's got to go through a little bit of the system.
Okay.
So I asked on Twitter any questions, and we got one from Gregory. Do the Rangers try and re-sign Eovaldi, Robertson, and Yates? And do they finally go sign a real DH?
Eovaldi, check. I think they'll try on Yates. I don't know if Robertson's going to keep pitching.
Yeah, we're not even sure. Robertson said at the end of the year he hinted he might retire.
I was about to say, I don't even think he knows if he's going to play baseball.
He's his own agent, so he's got a while to decide to talk to his agent. And then,
but the DH though,
the DH thing, no, I don't think so. I think the Rangers are at the point where
the internal growth,
internal growth, but also they're going to sign hitters. I know Natalie asked about it. Are the Rangers going to sign a bat? I think they're going to really. It's going to be like a glaring need from last year. It's going to be a very specific thing, like acquiring Robbie Grossman was a very specific need. The Rangers outfielders were bad against all pitchers, left-handers and right-handers. And you say right-handers, really, because you heard so much about the left-handers. It's true. So a guy like Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals or Mike Yastrzemski from the Giants, left-handed hitters who can play the outfield, they'd get a lot of at-bats. See guys like that, they're used to sitting, so they know the platoon situation. So I would think that's a possibility. And then I threw out on our show with Abby when you were out of town, John, a guy like Tommy Pham,
sure,
kind of a veteran guy who can play a lot of positions, right-handed bat.
He's also been in the postseason.
So many times. A lot.
Yeah,
I think he's kind of a fit too, but I don't think you're going to see them go out and get Pete Alonso, or some great. Greg Luzinski, I don't know, a guy you think of as being a DH, go out and just get a straight up DH. I think that they also like the flexibility to use that spot for days off.
Yeah, and because Boch does a great job managing the lineup that way. There was one question there before, though, about could Adolis become a full-time DH given the depth of the other talent in the outfield. I think, though, he's so good in the outfield. I'm not sure you want to do that.
He's a really good outfielder. Yeah, exactly. When he's healthy,
it's not my forte.
Very good. Throws the ball like a madman. It affects running games. You've seen teams not try to run on his arm in spots where they need a run. Could he play less outfield? Sure.
Yeah.
And maybe against like a right-hander he could DH, because if Evan Carter's healthy, you're probably going to want Evan Carter in the lineup. It looks like Wyatt Langford is a fixture, a guy who's going to be around for a while. Maybe he's the center fielder. So maybe against a right-hander, you have outfield of Carter, Langford, Yastrzemski, and Garcia as the DH, something like that.
Sure.
But I just think that I don't know that a full-time DH really limits a manager's ability to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Natalie's question about has the bullpen been decided on? I saw an article thinking they will spend money. Chris Young said in the exit meeting, bullpen is a huge concern for us.
Yeah, well, you look at how good those two guys were, Yates and Robertson. I mean, so good. You're a bullpen. It's eight players now with the 13-man pitching limit. So eight relievers. You're going to have some veterans, and you're going to have some guys who have options so that you can make moves when you run out of pitching or whatever, so that you can send them down to Round Rock and call up another arm and always be covered. Mark Church is pitching in the fall league. He made his major league debut late last year. That's a guy who's got a chance to make the opening day roster. Walt Pennington was great. After they got him from the Royals with the Lorenzen trade. Jacob Latz, who was hurt to end the year, but he had a really nice year. But then you're going to have these surplus starters. You don't want to send these guys to the minors, and if you can't trade them, you need a spot for them. There's going to be some piggyback situations going on. So are you going to carry a couple starters, in the bullpen? If Cody Bradford doesn't make the rotation,
right?
Do you want him piggybacking Kumar Rocker? Let's say, two entirely different guys.
Yep.
I don't know. It's going to be an interesting mix. It's always a huge story in spring training, but it's a big offseason story, especially with what you're losing in the 8th and 9th inning from the 2024 team. So they got to try for Yates, at least Yates.
I could see Bradford though. I mean, they all give the answer you want to hear of, I'm just happy to play wherever the Rangers put me in. I think that is really true for a lot of them. I think it's really, really true for Cody Bradford. And I think he could be, maybe what Dane Dunning was, not this past year, but the year before, like pitcher of the year, coming out of the bullpen or starting. Like, I think his ego is going to allow him to be put in whatever position. It would be such a good spinoff from Kumar, to get that fastball and all those nasty pitches. And then here comes, maybe the 90-mile-an-hour fastball, but hey, it still gets guys out. I would really, Cody's done so well, and I think he has definitely earned a spot on the starting rotation. But if you look at the talent that we have, and maybe there's just not that much room, like he would be great in the bullpen, and I would be really excited to see him.
Yeah, I'd hate to see him. And again, if he is in the bullpen, that probably means that the Rangers have done a really good job sort of positioning the starters that they want. But I thought Cody did everything that he needs to do to earn an opportunity. And again, I mean, you still have to do it in spring training. You can't win a job next year based on what you did this year. But Cody Bradford did a really good job for the Rangers this year. So I'd love to see him be back as a starting pitcher. But again, if he's not, I think the point is they've got 5 better guys, which is also pretty good. Couple of more questions here. One comes from, I can't tell, Rangers, whatever it is. Anyway, wondering, are all the teams in the World Series basically flawed? And I would say they are. I mean, even the team, the Dodgers, that has 3 former MVPs on it, they're flawed because they're injured, right? One of those former MVPs among those injured, and that's Freddie Freeman. And they've been decimated at the pitching position. Obviously, yes, the Indians the Guardians are flawed. Maybe I'll stop saying it at some point.
Don't worry about it.
The Guardians are flawed. I mean, in that they clearly don't have the depth and the level of starting pitching that you need, but they have a great bullpen. They don't have enough bats. I mean, over the offseason in Cleveland, they're going to be talking about needing bats. And obviously, Mets and it's hard to say the Yankees are flawed, but they had an up and down season.
Yeah, they really did.
Well, there's no 100-win team this year in baseball. Right. So whether it's parity or whether it's just injuries, whatever contributed to not getting to 100 wins, there was no team that was just because the Yankees had to deal with the Orioles for such a long time. Even the Dodgers had late. They never fell out of the lead or anything, but the Padres were nipping at them. Yeah. So there's just every team has a flaw. Yeah. Cleveland doesn't have starting pitching. Dodgers have issues with starting pitching. The Mets probably are not a complete offense, and then the Yankees have some bullpen issues, honestly. So they're all flawed. Yeah, still be fun. In fact, maybe that's what makes it most fun.
I did see this one bullpen stat for the Guardians that I do want to hit on because it's insane. 6 MLB pitchers pitched in at least 74 games during the regular season and had an ERA under 2. 4 of them were on the Guardians.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I love that a couple of people have reported they've gotten their DLLS gear. There was somebody who got their Stars gear. That's fantastic. And they got their Stars gear plus a physical diehard card, which is one of the things we haven't mentioned in our diehard chats lately. But yeah, you get a card, right? You can flash your diehard card. So get one of those. And somebody said that they were sent a Chicago diehard card and some Denver stickers. So, that might happen. Enjoy those and let somebody know where they came from, and they'll probably get you the right diehard card. But remember, if you go to Chicago, you can flash the Chicago diehard card there too.
They get rowdy in Chicago.
Yeah, they do. They do. So anyway, we love it. We love having a chance to chat with you. We love you chatting along with us because this is why we are here. Don't forget to like us. Don't forget to subscribe to us. It sounds like, a broken record, but it helps. It helps because it gets more and more eyeballs headed this way, more and more people chatting with us. Yeah, Ben, we appreciate you being back today. We kind of missed you yesterday. And, Rangers backup catcher.
It's a big one.
Of course, that's going to be a question again, and you don't know. I mean, it's just, hopefully they'll have somebody.
Somebody on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
That'll be my guess. But Carson Kelly would be great, but he's a first-time free agent, so he's going to try to cash in.
He's going to get some money. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for all the questions. Thanks for all the time, as always. And don't forget, we'll do this again tomorrow. 1 o'clock, we'll bring you another edition of the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.